Today, me and Stentric had a very big discussion about everything Fall Guys, the current state of the game, the announcement that went alongside the Summer Breeze update with the removal of seasons and how all that will affect the game, and a lot more really. You probably already saw the length of the video. This podcast style is very different to anything I've posted before on my channel, so some support on this would be great, and I'd love any feedback, both positive and negative, in the comments after you've watched this, but let's not make it any longer with this intro and jump straight into it. So Stentric, first off, what are your thoughts on just the removal of seasons overall?
I think that the removal of seasons, obviously it sounds like they're going to add more frequent updates to the game, which is good. My concern is that's good for the game, maybe, like for the dedicated player base, but that's a terrible decision for the long-term popularity of the game. Because the whole reason why Fall Guys has been able to stay around for so long and why Fortnite has been able to stay around for so long is because of seasons. You know what I'm saying? Like when someone knows that there's a new season of Fall Guys coming soon, like Fall Guys Season 5 is right around the corner or something, people get really hyped, they get excited, and then when that season releases, it brings together a bunch of new and returning players. Whereas I think updates can't really do that as good. I feel like if you hear, like if a casual player or new player hears the words new update, they're usually like, all right, cool, I might check it out. But then they hear new season, it's like, all right, I gotta check this out. You know what I mean? It's
I think it is like seasons are definitely better for marketing. Like that is undeniable. Like that there can be this big like lead up, this big hype within the community, and also just like even for people outside of it, just sort of looking in or hearing about it. I think seasons are better in terms of that. I do agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like even for me specifically, because obviously I'm also a Fall Guys content creator, and this is literally like my full-time job at this point. So when I saw the update, it was honestly kind of scary because I know for a fact that removing seasons completely is probably going to hurt the game's popularity a lot. And it's going to make it a lot harder for me to continue, you know, with Fall Guys content and have it actually sustainable.
Yeah, in terms of content creation, which obviously doesn't apply to most people, but I'm sure some people watching this are also content creators. And I think, like obviously a lot of content doesn't really rely on seasons. Like we can just make challenge videos and there's a lot of news in general, but then when there is a new season, it always does bring so much content. Like you can make content on the lead up to the season, the actual season launch, and then all the new features it'll obviously add, and like with updates there's obviously still new features and you can still make videos on new updates, but I think like there probably isn't as much.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the way that I make videos, the way that my channel usually goes is I'll upload like a bunch of Fall Guys videos. I'll do challenge videos. I'll make videos on new skins, new fame passes, whatever. And then over time, as I'm making videos, my views start to decline more and more and more over time, like over months. And then I can always rely on a new season to come out to bring the views back up. So like by the end of SS3, my channel was like at a really like big low. It was like the views were very low. But then season 4 came around and, you know, the views were back up. Everything's good again. You know, if you're just playing the game for fun, it probably doesn't matter as much. But for me, like hearing that seasons are going to be removed is pretty scary because now I don't have that new season to fall back on where like the game gets hype again.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe updates will do something similar where if an update is big enough, people will get hyped for it and it'll have a similar effect, but that's one of my concerns.
Yeah, I did have that sort of thing, like, with SS3. Obviously, like, everyone knows that's dry. We don't have to go into that, how SS3 was. And yeah, my channel did, like, they kind of die during that point for the most part. But then, like, as soon as the lead up to SS4 started, you know, with, like, all the teasers and the leaks and that kind of thing, and then when the season actually launched, like, that was really big for me. And I think, like, my best few months in terms of, like, making content, having loads of videos to make, and having loads of people watching and enjoying them. I think that peak was like in SS4, like a month after it launched, or like as it launched.
Yeah, it's just it's almost like new seasons are a safety net for Fall Guys content creators because your views are always going to decline if you're only playing one game. Like there's going to be highs and lows on your channel, but then whenever the views start to drop, you can always count on the new season to bring things back up. So it's just knowing that I'm not going to have that anymore is kind of scary. And the thing that I've came to agreement with, like the thing that I've came to terms with is I'm gonna have to start making content on other games too. That's like non-negotiable at this point. Because I feel like if I stick with Fall Guys, I mean, I don't know about you, like if you plan on doing the same thing, but if I feel like if I stick with just Fall Guys and only Fall Guys, then my channel can only decline from here on out because there's no like new seasons anymore. And I don't know. I just feel like this new update and this new announcement is really good for the game, but not good for like the popularity and the content.
Yeah, I definitely agree with like definitely will have to start branching out to doing more games. Like I did start like streaming Minecraft the past few weeks, which seems like really random, but it was actually a lot of fun. And like obviously it didn't do as well because like obviously all my viewers are here for Fall Guys for the most part. But I think branching out is kind of important. And I know that like the content creation, like the views side of it doesn't apply to most things, but and to most people, but the thing is it is sort of a reflection on like the game's popularity in general. Obviously it isn't like the only thing, like just because one of our videos does bad or whatever doesn't mean the game's doing bad, but like as a general
yeah, so something that probably a lot of people don't realize is like how much content creation has as an effect on the game. Like once, me, Caboose, you, Semi10 stops playing Fall Guys, like if we all just collectively decided to stop making Fall Guys videos, the popularity of the game would drop significantly. I would think. I mean, I feel like part of the thing is like I don't know if that's just me, but when I used to play Rocket League, one of the first things I would do is like as I was playing Rocket League, I would also watch Rocket League YouTubers.
Oh yeah.
And that would sort of keep the game alive for me. Like I would watch people like John Sandman and like all these Rocket League YouTubers. And I feel like if you don't have like Fall Guys YouTubers to watch or Fall Guys streamers to watch, then that has a significant like effect on the popularity. At least I think. I don't know. So I want to make Fall Guys content for as long as possible. I still like the game.
Yeah,
I don't want to stop anytime soon. But at the same time, it's like I also have to think about the long term for content and everything. Because I also just like more important to me than playing Fall Guys is making videos. Like making videos and doing YouTube is the main thing that I'm focused on. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a chance. Like this whole like thing about like seasons removal. I'm gonna give it a chance and see how it goes because maybe the updates will be big enough to keep players returning and joining the game. But like I'm not just gonna go a complete 180 and just start playing like stop playing Fall Guys out of nowhere. It's gonna be like a really slow thing where like I'll occasionally play other games, but it's still mostly Fall Guys. I don't know. I don't want to just like completely drop the game entirely, but it's definitely scary. That's the thing.
Yeah, like I'm like it at this point, like in the game, it is impossible to just be like, all right, this update is worrying, like I'm gonna quit the game. Like for us, that's impossible to just suddenly do, and I don't want to do that. Obviously, like
yeah, me neither.
Like in terms of content, obviously we don't want to suddenly stop, but also like I'm sure like both of us have this like attachment to just playing the game, whether it's for content or not, just like to the community and to sort of being part of it. And also like I feel like the thing with new updates creating hype, I feel like they do sort of have to recreate the new season hype with sort of having major updates, and that doesn't have to be every update, but I feel like maybe a few times a year they do need to sort of do an update that might sort of recreate a season in a way, like maybe not as big, but maybe they do still need to do like sort of a new theme and like that kind of thing all sort of linked together, like new levels, new features, a new theme all in the same update.
Yeah. Another huge problem with all of this is the actual updates and the content that we will be getting. See, the problem that I have with all of this is they're only saying that they're going to add new fame passes and they're going to update creative mode. Now, there's a little bit of I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I mean, fame passes are cool and all, but that can't be like, that's not necessarily like real content. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I feel like most people don't really care that much about like fame passes and skins. I mean, like some skins are cool, but I feel like people care 99% more about like new levels. Like new levels are way more interesting than, you know, getting new skins. So like I'm not saying a bunch of fame passes is a bad thing. I'm just saying that can't be the only content that we get, because I don't think that like oh, it's like a new fame pass every month. I just don't think that's like passable as enough content, especially
Yeah.
if seasons are going to be removed.
Yeah, I want to say about the Fame Passes that, like, it's definitely better that they've done, like, a Fame Pass every 5 or 6 weeks compared to, like, SS3, the same pass for, like, 5 or 6 months. It is,
Yeah.
like, way better content having this, like, consistent thing to, like, play and work towards. But a problem that I've really had with it is, like, having the new Fame Pass, yeah, it doesn't make up for the new content, which means like, oh, I was able to complete the first and second pass really easily, but this third pass I've only completed within the past few days, and then the fourth pass, it actually seems like it's going to be a bit shorter, so it might be easier to complete, which I think is a good thing, but generally, like, the Fame Pass isn't enough to sort of keep interest in the game, because it is, like, such a grind, and that grind isn't bad if you're like, if there is new content to play and like you're enjoying playing the game, but that grind isn't enough to really keep me playing and like really focus on completing a pass if like the game itself hasn't changed between passes.
Yeah. And the thing about creative updates, like that, so I said like the Fame Pass, but then the other thing that they are saying they're going to update a lot is creative mode. Now, the main problem I have with the current direction Fall Guys is heading, it seems like they're just completely prioritizing creative mode. But the thing is, it's literally in the name, creative mode. It's supposed to be a
Yeah.
separate mode from normal Fall Guys. Whereas I think they're just like disregarding that, and they're trying to turn the entire game into just creative mode. Which, I mean, I hope I'm wrong about that, because then again, it is Summer Breeze. It seems like this whole roadmap that they're talking about is just for the next few months. So maybe
Yeah.
after that roadmap, they'll start going back and focusing on, you know, Fall Guys' normal routes, where they'll make like normal levels and release those. But from the looks of it currently, it seems like they're only updating creative and only making creative levels, which that pretty much just turns Fall Guys into 3D Super Mario Maker at that point. It
Yeah.
completely disregards what Fall Guys, you know, originally was. It turns it into a completely different game. That's another issue I have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you'll feel about this, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I want to say I don't mind the focus on creative, but the problem is that like they've went so like full focus, like all in on just focusing on creative and nothing else. They've done this when it just like isn't fully ready, and obviously they had to release it because we were already waiting so long. But the problem is that it's sort of released like so bare bones, like there aren't too many features to it, and like when the creative levels are in the normal shows, you can really tell, and like they really aren't up to the standard that previous levels were.
Yeah. I honestly think that the budget was a terrible idea, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah.
Because I mean, we've already seen that there's been like these like modders or something, like using creative expansion pack, where they're able to like make levels in creative mode with infinite budget. And we've seen how like insanely good those levels can be, like that, like actually shockingly good. But whenever it's, you know, just the normal 1000 budget creative levels, that just very dry. So I feel like like making creative mode so limited with that, like I feel like if you're gonna have a budget, you should make it like 10,000. I mean, maybe that's a lot, but the limits should be a lot wider. I feel like creative mode is very limited. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the budget has to exist because, like, if you can just create a level that has like 1 million budget, obviously it's going to like crash the game and whatever.
Yeah.
But
I just
I've
think
heard,
1000 is a bit too low in my
yeah,
opinion.
absolutely. I've heard like with mods and stuff, I've heard people making like levels with maybe like 2000, maybe 2500 budget, and like they work completely fine on like Switch, which is obviously like the lowest benchmark, I guess, for performance. Like if a level works fine on Switch, then it's probably fine. And I think it's only around like 3000 budget that they actually start to lag. So they could easily increase it to like 2000 minimum, and I don't think there'd be any issues. And I think another thing we've seen from the mods is like clipping and like just putting objects inside of each other and like having more freedom with resizing and stuff. That really just needs to be a feature within the game.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I think in the Discover tab, they've added levels that use the overlapping glitch.
Oh
Like I'm
yeah,
100% sure. I've looked through. So that's a little weird, right? Because why would if it is a glitch and it's not like an actual feature, why are they literally making those official levels in the Discover tab?
yeah.
I mean, at that point, it shouldn't even be a glitch. It should just be a feature.
They used to be like avoiding featuring those, but I think these past few weeks they've just kind of gave up, and they know like these are the most popular maps, and like there's a reason they're the most popular, and like more people are using this glitch rather than like sticking to the limitations.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, they should just make those features. If they're gonna endorse it and add it to the Discover tab, they should just make it features.
Yeah, like I understand there's issues with like the overlapping. Obviously, that like that isn't fully intentional. That like in a way you could break the game or whatever. But like just have it be like an optional feature then. Like I don't see a problem with doing that.
Yeah. And I mean, just like overall, I don't think blurring the line between normal Fall Guys and creative mode is a good idea. I feel like that makes things really confusing. And like I don't know. I just feel like if we're only getting creative levels, it kind of reduces the hype that people would get for new levels. Because if you remember, like, you know, before season 4, every time we would get a new season, we would know that we're going to get maybe like 5 to 7 new levels, and they were all like, you know,
Yeah.
fleshed out and everything. And that was hype. Like, people loved that. Now with creative mode, it's reducing the hype of new levels. So I think what Mediatonic needs to do is they need to keep creative mode separate from normal Fall Guys. You got Fall Guys Battle Royale or whatever you want to call it, you know, the
Yeah.
normal Fall Guys, and then you got Fall Guys creative mode, just like how, you know, Fortnite does it. And then what you could do is all they basically need to do is make the normal Fall Guys levels extremely unique every time. Like completely new obstacles, completely new look, everything. Like not able to be built in creative mode. And then I feel like that would be a good way of handling it. And then people would still be hyped and you could still update creative mode as well. But if you just only do creative mode, I don't think that that's a good idea long term. But like I said, it's summer breeze updates, so it's just for the summer and the next few months. Hopefully after that they'll go back to the roots and start updating the, you know, the normal version of the game.
Yeah, so the thing is with like the focus on creative, I'm honestly not too against it because like in theory, right, if we just think about how like Mediatonic probably views this and just like ignoring any issues with it, if they expand creative enough, like really the ideal point is where like you could make a level in creative that is like up to the standard of like a level from SS2, for example. Those were probably like the most unique levels, like Frantic Factory. Like there's no way you could make that in creative. It had like such a unique aesthetic. I understand like obviously like us as players, we aren't going to be able to like import like custom models and stuff into a game, but I think at least like Mediatonic making their own maps for the core shows like solos and stuff, I feel like they should be able to sort of like bypass the limitations and like use obstacles that we can't, and like use more budget and like import custom stuff. And like I understand for like the launch of SS4, like they wanted to make levels in the exact editor that we're using to sort of show the possibilities of it, but I think that really has like backfired at them because they all really do look basic, and even like the player made levels are so much better, like whether they use glitches or not and mods and stuff, like they're still way better. I think this has really backfired on them, and they really do need to like step back and either start just using like a developer version of creative, or more levels made like how they used to with Unity, and like properly making a level outside of creative. I think if they can't properly make like good standard levels in creative mode, then they do have to sort of go back, because I think as much as having like loads of new levels is good, I think it is better for us to just get like 5 new levels that are like really high quality compared to 20 when some of them are like runner beans.
Yeah, quality over quantity is always going to be better. Like that never changes. I mean, I know like I feel like it's kind of funny, right? Because in the past we've always complained about the lack of content in Fall Guys. So I think Fall Guys are like Mediatonic just took that in and said, "All right, bet. Let's just make as much things as humanly possible." So then they just like, they updates creative. So there's just, unlimited creative rounds. So I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make up for that, lack of content that the community has been complaining about by, adding as much stuff to creative as possible and making creative mode just like a infinite level generator. But it's just, you know what I mean? I feel like creative rounds are always going to be different from normal rounds. There needs to be a line drawn there. I could actually show a really good example of what I'm talking about. I saw this guy on YouTube. I don't really know how to pronounce his name. It's like SPSPSTE.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Like, I guess we'll just quickly explain this for people who don't know.
So I'm gonna link a video in our DMs. You could just show that on screen.
Yeah.
He posted a video, Fall Guys Aztec Adventure 4 rounds fan made SS5. This is he's done this for like a lot of different seasons. Like he's done a fan made SS6 or SS7 even.
Yeah, I think he's on to SS7 now.
Yeah. I mean, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about because as you can see, the backgrounds are completely unique. It's got like a whole completely new theme. This is what Fall Guys used to be, and it's what I want Fall Guys to continue to be because you can still have this and creative mode at the same time. It's just two separate modes.
Yeah, and I think honestly a good way they could sort of like have creative, because it's clear that this is their focus. I don't think they're suddenly going to like backtrack and then like stop making any levels in creative and stuff. But I think a good way of doing it is like we get some levels like made using how they used to, like really complex, like some really high quality levels, like they can have like just a few levels, and then they can take like community levels from creative, like take the very best of the best, and then they can probably get away with being in core shows.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like as long as they're two separate modes, I think the game will do fine. And they're talking about how like they're going to remove seasons, but then they also talked about like every now and then they're going to bring a new fresh coat of paint or something. They said something like that.
Yeah, okay, hold on. I'm going to find the exact wording because it was like really vague.
Yeah, I think they did that on purpose because I don't think they've fully decided exactly what they're going to do. They're probably still figuring things out, which is understandable.
Okay, so I'm just going to read it out. You'll see the digital creative construction theme in the game a little while longer, but IBNs are hard at work on updating this with a new lick of paint very soon. So it doesn't specify, right, whether this new lick of paint is like a new theme, or if it's an expansion on the digital theme, or if it just means we're going back to a generic lobby like Legacy Season 1, which is what I initially thought, but someone did like clarify that it's really vague. It could mean just a new theme.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking if they're gonna do that, they could just like, let's say I would be happy just every 5 months, every 4 to 5 months, we get a new theme and we get new like Unity levels, like normal new levels made by the Fall Guys developers, stuff that is not able to be built in creative mode. And then that would keep the game super fresh because you got the creative content pumping out, and then you got the original Fall Guys content popping out with like the new theme and the new Unity levels and stuff. I feel like that would be a really good way of going about it without any loss of content or loss of hype.
Yeah, and like I know there are people who like are completely against creative levels being in like solo show, and like duos and squads don't have them right now, but I know people are against that as well, obviously. But I really think like if they went with the idea of like they make their own Unity levels, and then like the very best of the best, like they can even let the community vote if they want like on other people's levels and sort of like determine like the best ones that might be good for like solo show. I really don't think people would mind too much if there were just like a few levels, maybe not finals, but like just a few levels sprinkled in like from the community on top of like their own Unity levels that they're making. I think that wouldn't be too bad, and then like they could probably get away with having them in duos and squads as well. I know that's unpopular. I know people just don't want creative levels at all, but actually another thing I want to say about the creative levels in solos is like the thing is with the creative levels, right, one of the things they've obviously advertised and like one of the really good things about is like they can make so many levels, right? They can make levels really quickly. But the thing that they've done is they've like barely changed the solos round pool. Like it was only in the new update that they changed the creative levels available, and like the sideshows recently have been like really lazy. Like some of them lasted like a month, I'm pretty sure, like the first co-op levels in the last update. Like they can make levels really quickly, but then they just aren't, and like I think the game is really like losing its variety because of that, and that's why season 4 has felt so dry, even though it has had like creative as a huge thing.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about creative and solos, in my opinion, there shouldn't be any creative levels made by Mediatonic in solo show at all. I mean, I get, in season 4 it makes sense because creative mode is new, so the Fall Guys developers made levels in creative mode to showcase the possibilities.
Yeah.
That's fine. I just think that should be the end of it. Like when the next theme or like Code of Paint comes around, kind of season comes around, I think they should just get rid of all of the Mediatonic made creative levels in solo show and replace it with player made creative levels. Because
Yeah,
as you said earlier, the creative levels made by the players are infinitely better. And this isn't even just like me or you saying this. I think Joe Walsh actually said this himself, like he predicted it. He said in one of the broadcasts or whatever that the players are going to be able to make levels like far beyond anything that Mediatonic could have thought of. Just because if you think about it, there's only so many Mediatonic developers.
This isn't bashing Mediatonic because
But there's thousands of players out there. So that when players are creating levels, the possibilities are endless. So I think like they should just if every 4 or 5 months they just release new Unity made levels, like just classic type Fall Guys levels with new themes, and then also refresh the solo show round pool with player made levels. I think that would definitely keep the game very fresh and alive.
Yeah, and like I understand like the Unity levels might only be able to maybe they can only add some like every 4 months, maybe even like let's just say every 6 months, only like 2 times a year. They could probably do it a bit faster than that, but let's just say they can only add Unity levels twice a year and it'll only be like 4 levels each time. That'd be fine because like during like that gap and like with each update or even like every week or two, they can like rotate the round pool with more like player made levels. Like they don't even need a new update to like add new creative levels from players, right? They just need a content update which they can do anytime. Like if the game would feel like so much less dry right now if they were sort of doing that more consistently. And then Mediatonic could take their time making updates as long as just like a few of them, which is I think the job of the community managers right now is just like finding player made creative levels. Like they can just focus on that while the rest of the development team can like focus on making like this big update while the game is just being sustained by player made levels. I really think that'd be fine. I really don't think that'd get too boring at all.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, there's another issue I wanted to talk about. This is like so I don't think anyone has ever talked about this, but I think it is a pretty like big problem. So in Fall Guys, there's obviously collabs, right? There's a lot of collabs that they do with other IPs or whatever you want to call it. I think one of the big problems that the game is facing right now is a lot of the collabs that they do are too niche. And what I mean by that is like the most recent collab, for example, was great. The Fall Guys Ninja Turtles collab.
Yeah.
That's perfect for Fall Guys' target audience. However, in the new upcoming Fame Pass, like the Warriors of Light Fame Pass, I have no idea what Warriors of Light is. And I was looking through the replies on Twitter and comments on YouTube. 99% of the Fall Guys player base has no idea what Warriors of Light is.
Okay, so the Fame Pass is called Warriors of Light, but the actual collab is Final Fantasy. There's like loads of games in that series. Like I
do know what it is now. Obviously I looked it up, but like initially, like I think just the problem is they need to understand like the target audience of Fall Guys. Like for example, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab was really good. The Sonic collab was really good. The Spongebob collab was good. Like even the Hello Kitty collab was good.
Yeah.
But I think when they start doing these really niche collabs on like games that not that many people know about, I mean, it's fine if they're gonna like add that type of stuff to the item shop every now and then and like just, not as like a huge thing. But the next Fame Pass is something that they're marketing heavily, like to bring some hype back to the game. And I just think if they're gonna like they should have made the Fame Pass on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab. I think that would have been huge. If they decided to make the next Fame Pass themed around the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab, I think that would have been like actually perfect. And then they could have just had this, Warriors of Light collab. They could have had that as an item shop thing. I think that would have been a lot better, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, like, Final Fantasy is, like, a huge game. It's a huge series. Loads of people know about it.
Yeah.
Like, just because we didn't know too much about it
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't mean
I,
that. But I agree that
yeah.
it's definitely not the target audience of the game. I feel like a lot of the general community doesn't really care about it. That is, like, a real problem with having any, like, collab fame pass. Like, I'm fine with how they did the collabs in the first 3 passes of this season, with like it just being 1 or 2 costumes, and like that was completely fine. Because then, if you care about the collab, good, you get the costumes and cosmetics, and then if you don't care, there's still plenty of original things. But the problem with this next fame pass is that every single cosmetic is Final Fantasy. Like,
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
if you do not care about Final Fantasy, then there is nothing for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to rephrase, like, obviously I'm not saying nobody knows about Final Fantasy or Warriors
Yeah.
of Light. Like, absolutely not. Obviously Final Fantasy is like a huge game. My point is just, I think the fan base behind Fall Guys and the fan base behind Final Fantasy is just completely separate. And I guess you could argue that, maybe that's a good thing, because then Fall Guys can, basically advertise itself to the Final Fantasy community and get more players. But the thing is, you can't only focus on bringing in new players. You also have to focus on pleasing the current players. I think the issue with the Warriors of Light Fame Pass is we have to wait like at least a couple months, where we'll have like the only Fame Pass available is a Fame Pass on a collab that 99% of the player base knows nothing about. So they're not really going to be too interested in it. I just think that was a bad decision on Mediatonic's part, in my opinion. I think it should have been the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as the Fame Pass and the Warriors of Light as just like an item shop thing. I think that would have been infinitely better, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, I just think if you're going to do a Fame Pass on like just the entire thing is on a collab, it should be something that most of the Fall Guys audience would know about. Like, if they did an entire Fame Pass on like Spongebob, I mean, I guess they already did that with SS3, and that was actually one of the biggest Fame Passes we've ever had. I think a lot. Like, I remember in SS3, one of the main features of that season that people were so interested in was the Fame Pass. Like, that was like one of the biggest reasons why people came back to the game, because they were like, oh, they added Spongebob to Fall Guys. Oh, I gotta check this out. I just feel like if they're gonna do a Fame Pass entirely on a collab, it should be something just like more popular for Fall Guys' audience, I guess.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So we've talked like about creative and how we feel about that, and like the removal of seasons and fame passes. I think we've talked like about pretty much everything there. Problem is that I forgot what I was going to say next and move on to.
I mean, what I do want to make one last point about the collabs. Like, if you look at Stumble Guys, for example, I feel like Fall Guys definitely needs to recognize that there's a lot of competition right now. Because Stumble Guys, although it is, it was originally a knockoff, it's grown into this huge thing. And a lot of the time, Stumble Guys right now is arguably getting more popular than Fall Guys. So I think they really need to, this could be a good thing though, because when two games are competing, they need to like, add the best things to their game to try to compete. Like, that means that both games will, improve a lot because they're focusing on trying to be better than the other game. I don't know if Fall Guys is interested in competing with Stumble Guys as much as Stumble Guys is interested in competing with Fall Guys. I don't know if that's just me that's noticed that.
Yeah.
But during the past, like, look at SS3, for example. SS3 was the most dry Fall Guys season we've ever had. And during that time, Stumble Guys got a freaking NFL collaboration. They got a Nerf collaboration. They got what was it? The Rabbids collaboration.
Yeah.
Dude, like, they are literally like, Stumble Guys is going insane trying to compete with Fall Guys. Whereas I feel like Fall Guys is just kind of like sitting there not really doing much about it. They should be going like hog wild. They should be adding as much things to the game as possible and doing like the biggest collabs they can possibly do. And the problem is, like, when Stumble Guys is out here doing a collab with MrBeast, Fall Guys can't be out here doing a collab with freaking Warriors of Light. Like, this is not how you compete. Like if Stumble Guys is just gonna absolutely, dominate over Fall Guys if they keep doing this. That they need to. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I feel like they need to prioritize competition more.
Like the thing is that I want to see both games do well, or really like as a Fall Guys content creator, as someone who cares more about Fall Guys, I want to see Fall Guys do well, especially. And like
exactly.
obviously competition is part of that. But the only thing is I don't want to see like Stumble Guys like overtake the game and kill Fall Guys.
Yeah,
but hopefully, yeah, that should motivate Mediatonic to sort of do more. And I feel like Stumble Guys has just sort of been like embarrassing Fall Guys a little bit. Like the MrBeast Club is such a good example because like they've done like a huge collab there. Meanwhile, when Fall Guys added MrBeast, it was literally just one costume, and it was only because of a charity thing. It wasn't even like they wanted to add him necessarily. Like I feel like that's really insulting for Mediatonic that like somebody has had something so big, and then also they sponsored the latest MrBeast video. Like
yes, bro, I was just about to mention that.
Yeah.
A literal main channel MrBeast sponsorship, and I think that was MrBeast's biggest video so far. He literally said that was his biggest, like, highest budget video he's done so far. Bro, that's actually, I don't think people realize how insane that is, bro. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, people don't realize that probably cost Stumble Guys millions, probably.
Yeah.
Like they were willing to throw that. I mean, meanwhile, when Fall Guys Free For All launched, like the biggest update in Fall Guys history, SS1, they sponsored a MrBeast gaming video. Meanwhile, Stumble Guys over here.
I think the thing is, like, Stumble Guys can do all of this stuff, to try to compete with Fall Guys, but then people will always have the comeback of, oh, but Stumble Guys is just a knockoff. And it just kind of like disregards anything that Stumble Guys does. Oh, but it's just a Fall Guys knockoff. Fall Guys is the original. Stumble Guys sucks. That's what people always say. The Fall Guys community will always say that. But the thing is, like, how much longer will they be able to hold on to that for? Because, right now, and it's actually starting to, like, I've seen a lot of people in comment sections forget that Stumble Guys is a copy. And some people actually think Fall Guys is the copy at this point, which is crazy.
Honestly, I like, some people probably joke about that, but I bet there are some people who like genuinely heard of Stumble Guys before Fall Guys.
I mean, it's grown into something far more than just the Fall Guys knockoff. You also had to remember how like the player base of these games are pretty young. Like a lot of these people are kids, right? So a lot of these people probably like started playing video games recently, especially since Stumble Guys is on mobile. So they might have not even been around for like the peaks of Fall Guys. So they just view Stumble Guys as like the original. And the thing is, I feel like obviously I do not consider myself a Stumble Guys creator at all. I've always considered myself a Fall Guys creator, and I definitely prefer Fall Guys over Stumble Guys by far. Like like you said, I want the best for Fall Guys. I'm definitely in more favor of Fall Guys right now. But like obviously if you see my channel, I've been making like some Stumble Guys content recently. And if Stumble Guys is doing better, like obviously I'm gonna jump at it and make content on Stumble Guys. Like,
absolutely.
Because obviously, as I mentioned before, I love Fall Guys and I love playing Fall Guys, but the one thing that I love more than playing Fall Guys is just making videos and seeing the channel grow and everything. So I don't know. I want to make Fall Guys content for as long as possible, but there's something that like Fall Guys needs to deliver as well. Because I can't. This is one of my problems. Whenever Fall Guys makes a bad decision and the game plummets in popularity, I get punished for that. Like if I'm only making that's really frustrating as a content creator for the game. If I'm only making exclusively Fall Guys content, then anytime an update fails, my channel gets hit. So this is why I got to start mixing in Stumble Guys and other games, because I just want to make videos for as long as possible.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I actually did record a Stumble Guys video a while ago. I haven't posted it yet, but I think now might be a good time. In a few days I'll probably get around to editing that and stuff. And also, I think a good thing to briefly talk about because of Stumble Guys is Stumble Guys is on mobile. That's a huge part of why it's so successful, right? Fall Guys mobile.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. So in the recent update, they added Room 8 Studio to the credits on the startup screen. Like if you see that startup screen where there's a bunch of different companies, and Room 8 Studio is apparently working on Fall Guys mobile.
Yeah, now
And
they aren't only working on mobile, like they have also helped with like other
yeah,
aspects of the game. Like they made some of the Legacy Season 1 costumes, that's some stuff they did.
fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I believe they are also supposed to be working on mobile, and there have been like
It's
loads of leaks and stuff about mobile in the
Yeah.
past.
It's just the timing of it. So they
Yeah.
added Roommate Studio to the startup screen, and then they also had a Google Play responding to one of their most recent tweets on
Yeah.
Twitter. It was the tweet they made about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab. Google Play responded. I think that's a pretty clear indication of mobile coming soon, like mobile around the corner.
Yeah.
And I think that is an interesting thing to think about, right? Because if Fall Guys goes on mobile, will that just completely kill Stumble Guys? Or has Stumble Guys already built up enough of a following for it to last even after Fall Guys does go on mobile? Because obviously it's great that Fall Guys is releasing on mobile, but they are a little bit late to do this. You know what I mean? Like Stumble Guys has been on mobile for a long time.
I think it was on mobile before PC, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if all Stumble Guys players are just going to get up and leave to go play Fall Guys instead. There's also the issue of performance problems.
Yeah.
Because Fall Guys is like pretty bad on Switch from what I've heard. I haven't really played that much Switch Fall Guys, but
I've played it and like it's really horrible. And I think mobile, like for the most part, is probably actually more powerful than a Switch. But like the thing is, like they really do have to like properly optimize it. I mean, I think another issue is like the ping from someone playing on mobile. Like they're definitely going to have a wireless connection. Some of them might be on like mobile data and like a hotspot or some really weak connection like that. Like we've seen like how bad, I mean, for the entirety of the game, but particularly recently, like desync and disconnect and all of that, like that is really worrying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm hyped to see Fall Guys on mobile. I think that's going to be huge for the popularity of the game.
It's a really mixed thing.
Yeah. Because literally, like, the whole reason why Stumble Guys got so popular in the first place was because it was on mobile and Fall Guys wasn't. Everyone wanted an alternative to Fall Guys on mobile because Fall Guys just seems like the perfect game to be on mobile. And it's like this like colorful game, and colorful games obviously attract younger audiences, and younger audiences tend to play on mobile because usually if you're around the age of like 8 to 12. You might not have a console or a computer yet. I mean, me personally, I didn't get a console or a computer or anything like that until I was 11. Everything before that, I had this like iPad mini that was my mom's, and I would play like Minecraft Pocket Edition and like Angry Birds on that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when they add Fall Guys to mobile, that'll be huge for the game. Because if you think about it, I mentioned this earlier, Fall Guys and Stumble Guys have a very young audience, and a lot of these kids are just now getting introduced to video games. So when Fall Guys gets on mobile, there's also going to be a lot of kids that'll start playing that have never even heard of Stumble Guys. Because like they're just getting introduced to video games, so that they just got a tablet, and like the first thing they see on the homepage is Fall Guys. So either way, no matter what, it's going to be huge for the game, regardless of whether or not they'll be able to compete with Stumble Guys or not.
Yeah, I think the only problem like with a mobile release is there's another side to it with like the issues of performance and lag, and like maybe it'll make Stumble Guys look better if like Fall Guys flops. But I think another issue is just like the game has to sort of be ready and like in a good state, because like if you suddenly introduce it to this new audience, I mean it's currently in its like dry state with like really boring events and modes, which I want to get onto in a minute. But yeah, like you want it to sort of be in a good state so it'll leave a good impression, or else people might try it, like maybe they've heard about it before or maybe they haven't, and then they'll sort of like get this bad impression if it's not in a good state, and then they might not give it another chance when there's like a new update, especially because there isn't any like new season to fall back on with like the marketing. It's just going to be like new update that might not be as significant, and might like people might not trust it as much to like have fixed the problems they have with like the lack of content and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I definitely think that mobile is like the biggest like positive thing we have right now going for the game. Like with all this other stuff, you got the issues with creative mode and like no more seasons or whatever. But I mean, honestly, I think if Fall Guys does come to mobile like within the next few months or 4 or 5 months, I think that definitely outweighs a lot of the negatives, because that's definitely gonna be huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking earlier about how not having seasons anymore is gonna make it hard for the game to be like popular, and it's it's gonna be hard to continue making content with it being sustainable. But yeah, when Fall Guys gets to mobile, that should fix a lot of the popularity issues, at least for a while.
Yeah, like obviously it's nice to have more people playing the game and like more chance for people to access it. Because I bet there are some people like watching our channels and like maybe watching this who like they can't play Fall Guys because maybe they do only have mobile. Like they can obviously watch YouTube and they might like have an interest in the game, but they can't play. I've had like plenty of people just asking me about mobile because obviously I do Fall Guys news and stuff. So yeah, that's a big thing. But also talking about Stumble Guys, that just made me realize with the lack of seasons in Fall Guys, Stumble Guys doesn't have seasons. They sort of have like the same sort of like Fame Pass system and like same sort of update system that Fall Guys is now going for, and that seems to be working well for the game.
That's true, actually. I didn't even think about that. Wait, maybe they are actually like, because we don't know what they're working on behind the scenes. Maybe they are actually trying to compete with Stumble Guys and match up with them.
Yeah, now it could be a coincidence, but it's also possible like they realize maybe this will work better. And honestly, like if they did take inspiration, I think that's probably a good thing.
I think so too. But if they're going to do that, they have to, like, the updates that they do release are going to have to be massive, or at least, like, a lot of them have to. Because the way that Stumble Guys gets away with not releasing seasons is that their updates are huge. Like, not only are they releasing, you know, new levels on a consistent basis, but the collabs that they do are always like, dude, the NFL, bro. I still can't get over that. How are they collaborating with the NFL and Hot Wheels and every
like,
single collab they do is huge.
For most of the collabs, I haven't heard too much, but like I feel like the MrBeast collab it sort of has been like everywhere. Like again, being in a MrBeast main channel video, that's got to get like at least like 100 million people watching that. That was like late into the video, but that's got to be at least like 100 million people.
I don't think it was that late. I think it was like in the like middle of the video, like the complete middle. If I remember correctly.
Obviously his videos have like really good retention. So if it gets like 150 million views in a month, that's going to be like over 100 million people hearing about Stumble Guys. A lot of them might not have known about it. That is huge, and that's not very good for us. But that's just an example of like, yeah, you don't need a season. You can just have like a massive MrBeast update, and obviously Fall Guys isn't going to have that sort of update, but they could do like
I mean, they might. I mean, there's already a MrBeast skin in Fall Guys, which is I find that kind of funny. Yeah, it's interesting how both Fall Guys and Stumble Guys has a MrBeast collab. That's weird.
Yeah, but like there's any collab, like any big IP really. Like imagine a SpongeBob update. I know we already got like the initial costumes, but like there's more stuff that got leaked with like a SpongeBob level and stuff that like I don't know why it hasn't come out yet. It's been leaked ages ago.
Well, maybe it's on track for this. Bro, it's all coming together now. You know that meme of like the guy from that one movie where he's like, it's all coming together. Yeah, this is how I feel right now. Yeah, bro, we literally just discovered the freaking hidden plans of Fall Guys. Okay, let's think about this, right? So Stumble Guys doesn't have seasons, and instead they have like, you know, consistent updates, new fame passes, new collabs. Fall Guys is getting rid of seasons and instead releasing frequent updates, and there's a SpongeBob collab coming soon with a SpongeBob level. This is literally exactly what they're literally trying to turn their game into the method that Stumble Guys uses to compete with them.
Is really good because like just imagine a SpongeBob update. Like I know we already had SpongeBob, but like just another update, because like that one was just like a season and then just like some stuff in the shop. Like a full like SpongeBob update with a new level, like there's obviously so much possibility for like cross promotion. So like just like SpongeBob can post about that as well as Fall Guys, and like I'm sure like people will tell each other about that as well. That'll spread just through like word of mouth, whether people know about Fall Guys or haven't played it in a while or whatever. I think updates like that, and they don't have to be collabs. That was just the main example because of Stumble Guys having MrBeast, but like there could also be just like some huge updates that don't involve collabs. Like they don't need to. It can just be like so they've been working on, I don't know when it's releasing, because the thing is it's tied to like the digital theme, but they've been working on like this crazy new mode, or it seems like really big, with like a live system and like a firewall chasing you and that kind of thing. That seems like it could be its own update, and that doesn't have to be tied to any sort of collab, and that would still be huge.
Yeah. I mean, another interesting thing to think about though is obviously there's getting rid of seasons, but it's a little bit different because Stumble Guys, although they don't have seasons, they also don't have creative mode. When they release new levels, it's always been the same where they just release new normal levels the types of levels that they've been making. However, what's interesting is, I don't know if you knew this, Stumble Guys is releasing a creative mode.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's already been confirmed.
I'm very interested.
I am too. That is really gonna make things spicy. So they're really competing with each other now. Like Fall Guys is becoming more like Stumble Guys, and Stumble Guys is becoming more like Fall Guys with the creative mode and everything.
Yeah,
there is gonna be some huge competition going on.
Yeah, I'm 100% down for this because like really what we want to see is both games succeed, obviously, and like this is the way to do it.
I think competition is a good thing. I think when two games, especially when they're this similar, like competition is so important because they're so similar that one game is going to take away from the other. So I think in this case, like competition is just going to make both games do really good consistently. It's also good for content because I don't know, you haven't made that much Stumble Guys content yet, but you should try it because me personally, I've been for the past week or a couple weeks, I've been making both Fall Guys and Stumble Guys content at the same time, and it seems to work really well. Like it seems like the audiences are almost the exact same, so they'll watch both. Yeah, so if both Fall Guys and Stumble Guys are succeeding, then like I mean that's great. You just play both. Keep up to date with both.
Yeah, that is like really good, and obviously like again we obviously have a preference to Fall Guys, and most of our viewers probably do as well. Yeah. But like the thing is that like if Fall Guys does end up falling behind, then Stumble Guys is a thing to fall back on. Like obviously that is like worst case scenario, but that is like a real reason for Mediatonic to really just like get it together and just make the game good.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like the new startup screen when you load up the game, all those new companies that are like showed on screen, it definitely looks like they hired more people to work on the game, which is a very good thing. We actually, honestly, talking about this with you today, honestly made me realize a lot that I haven't been thinking about. Like maybe this is a good thing. Maybe like I mean obviously they're getting rid of seasons, but maybe they are really trying to like compete with Stumble Guys and try to do something different. If it works, it works. I'll be really happy if it works, honestly. I think if they go the approach with like the Spongebob collab and make that like a huge thing like the MrBeast collab was, I think that would be really good as well.
Yeah, I am really excited to see this. Obviously there are like two sides to it, and I don't know if you saw it, but as I said in my last video, just going over the news and stuff, like really the best way to go about this is just being very cautious but cautiously optimistic, because there's two ways this could go. It could go bad, but the thing is, even if it goes bad, like they can always start doing seasons again. Like they can like go back to season 1 again probably. Like,
yeah, I mean they didn't outright say seasons are canceled. They just said we're moving away from seasons to focus on updates. That could easily mean temporarily, not doing seasons.
Yeah, and I think it's probably like supposed to be a permanent thing, but if this does like backfire, they can always fall back on that. And actually,
I'm just saying, like they didn't outright confirm if it was permanent or not. So yeah, they could just like easily just go back to their old methods.
Yeah, like I definitely don't think they're planning on that, and I don't think it would be good. Like I think ideally this model of like having consistent updates and stuff, in theory, this is better. This is better than just having like a season which. Like at this point we don't even know like how often seasons would be because it's been really bad recently. Like we had SS1 was 3 months and then SS2 was 2 months and then SS3 was nearly 6 months, so it's like really inconsistent. So I think if they can just do monthly updates or like nearly monthly, I don't think they're supposed to be every month because like they missed October on the roadmap. But
yeah, I mean it's a good idea. It's just we just need a good execution. That's the only thing.
I think something people have been worried about is like we might not get any new themes with the lack of seasons. But I think if they do it with how Stumble Guys did it, like I don't know if they do like updates specifically related related to themes, but like they still release like loads of themed levels. Like I know recently they added like space levels or whatever. Like they don't need a new season to sort of focus on a new theme. They could just do like, I don't know, I can't think of an example, but it could be like desert update. I don't know. Desert theme is like the most boring thing I could think of, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is a Fall Guys debate, but I do. Speaking of Stumble Guys, I do want to say one thing. One thing Stumble Guys needs to do if they want to make their game better is add a freaking soundtrack, bro. It's the same song.
Yeah.
It's it's the same freaking song every time. Bro, that's the one thing, that's a one issue I have with Stumble Guys. Stumble Guys is doing it's doing really good right now, but the one far advantage that Fall Guys has over Stumble Guys is that Fall Guys music slaps. They have like 50 plus songs that go together with like different rounds. Whereas Stumble Guys are just the same freaking song over and over again.
Fall Guys soundtrack is the best soundtrack of any video game. I don't care what anyone says.
Honestly, I would agree. That's one of the biggest things Fall Guys has going for it. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, but yeah,
yeah.
One of the other things, like a small thing about them moving away from seasons. I hope we still get new music. The thing is with the SS4 music, 2 of the songs barely play in game. All the like creative levels in solos and in the side shows, they all play Digifall Guys for no reason. They all play the same song.
I noticed that. Yeah, I think they should definitely add more songs to go with the creative rounds.
Literally,
I also think
the songs exist, but they're just in the file, and they only play like if you enter a level code or something.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the one of the things is one of the problems that makes creative mode in Fall Guys less interesting is that all of the levels kind of blend together, because not only is the music always the same, but also when you load into the round, it's just a 3D render that they made. I think it would be infinitely better if they just had like a screenshot of the creative level as the loading screen. Because you know how if you go to the Discover tab, you can see that like they added a picture for the level, like they add like a little screenshot. They could just do that for the loading screen. Now I know that might be difficult to do for like every single level, like, you know, but at least do that for the levels that are in solo show. Like if you add levels to solo show, make sure that the loading screens for those have a screenshot from the level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like little things like this, right? Like creative probably isn't as bad as people think, but it's small things like that really just sort of make it feel unfinished. Like there's no loading screens, there's no camera intros. What else is there? There's like the loading times for some reason are like really long. The levels are like tiny in file size, so like downloading them isn't the issue. I don't know why they take so long to load, but that is like something I've really noticed.
Yeah, definitely. After SS4, the load times got way worse, and that's definitely something that they should fix, especially if they're trying to compete with Stumble Guys, because Stumble Guys load times are insanely fast. I
want to mention that quickly. Like the downtime between rounds in Fall Guys is insane, because like you've got matchmaking, and then like matchmaking has issues, especially in the latest update. I don't know how much you've played, but like I've been having so many issues with matchmaking. And then when you actually get into a game, obviously like you've got to wait for the first loading screen, and then you get to play for a bit, maybe like it's a 30-second round, and then you've got to spectate, and then you've got to watch the elimination screen, then you've got to wait for it to pick the round, and then you've got to wait for a round loading screen, and then you've got to wait for the camera intro, and then you've got to wait for the 3, 2, 1. It's actually insane, and then Stumble Guys is like really quick. I know they can't stop like spectating and like the round loading, but they can make the round loading faster, and they can probably just like remove everything else, because you know like it's already picked the round when it shows like the next round up screen. It's already picked the round, but it acts like it's just picking it, and then sometimes that screen lasts like 20 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, Stumble Guys load times are like loading in Stumble Guys is like nothing. It takes like 5 seconds to load into a new round. So I definitely think that's something that they should definitely try to improve if they're trying to compete with Stumble Guys, because the load times is definitely a big thing.
Yeah, I think sort of the fast-paced matches that Stumblegaze had, I think that is sort of the gameplay that Fall Guys needs. And I'm fine with having, like, longer shows, like, maybe Extreme Mode and stuff like that should be, like, longer, maybe stick to 60 players. But I think, like, 40 players and, like, sort of faster rounds, I feel like that's the direction Fall Guys should be going, especially if it's going on mobile, right? Because, like mobile is something you might be playing, like, waiting, I don't know, like, there's plenty of examples, but, like, if you're on, like, a car ride or, like, waiting in, like, a waiting room for an appointment, something like that, like, you know, people, like, quickly whip out their phone to watch, like, TikTok or whatever else, like you can, like, quickly just get it out, just play a quick game of Fall Guys, like, I feel like that'd be big if people could do that.
Yeah, definitely when they release the game on mobile, they should definitely consider the load times. I also think there should just be like consistent short shows. Like, you know, like stuff we got like Hexagon trials, but those are limited. If there's like a permanent, this is actually something that would be really good for the game. So they said that they're going to be improving the discovery tab for creative rounds. I think they should also do something similar for shows. If they can get the servers to handle it, it would be cool if we could see something in Fall Guys like the way that Fortnite has it, where when you press play, there's like tons of stuff to do, like infinite stuff to do. Like there's Hexagon trials going on, Thin Ice trials going on, you know, all these different shows happening just permanently there. Now, there is one thing with that. I'm not sure if the game is at a popularity level that would be able to like handle that many things running at the same time. I mean, Fortnite is freakishly popular. It's like one of the biggest games on the planet. They're able to run a bunch of different things at once, but you know, if the game gets successful enough, they could probably get there like very soon. And even just like, it doesn't have to be as crazy as Fortnite. They could just have like a few different limited time shows just there permanently for like an entire season or like an entire, you know, few months or something.
Yeah, this is something I was wanting to move on to, right? Like the dryness of this season. I know like last season it's very easy to make the examples of, but I feel like in some ways, arguably this season it's been worse, right? Like the side shows have been awful and the events I don't want to get started on the events, but there's been like barely like anything to do, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly, for me this season, the only things that are like really interesting to me are new fame passes, new item shop skins, and new like creative levels. I haven't really been paying attention to any of like the limited time shows or events or anything like that. I mean, the one thing that was cool, this was short and this was like 2 months ago, I think, but there was this short period of time, like for a week, where there was a double crown, like crown shard scramble thing. And there was a there was a level called Trouble Tower out where you could just like farm that and get like tons of crap. I actually made a video with you on that, I think.
Yeah.
So like that was cool. But other than that, honestly, like the limited time shows and the limited time events and creative levels they're not really that crazy. I agree.
Yeah, I think like what they were doing with the single round creative shows was fine, like rotating them weekly, and I think something good is like having 2 tabs. They can have like 4 Mediatonic levels they're featuring and then 4 community ones. I think that's really good, and the Mediatonic ones don't have to be new every week. Like they can rotate the same ones in and out like every couple months. I think that's fine. But really like the show selector variety in general, like it's literally just been 1 weekly show and then there's like 7 total shows they pick from, and then it just cycles between that same schedule over and over. For the upcoming schedule that's got leaked for like the Warriors of Light Fame Pass and a bit beyond, there is a bit more variety, but it's still like 1 show every week, which is like, if it's a show you don't like, then you've literally got nothing for a week. And then even if it is one you do like, if it's something like, I don't know, like Pixel Palooza with just pixel painters over and over again, like that is not something that can keep you busy for an entire week. Like they definitely need more side shows.
That's something I was going to mention. Yeah. So like, I think it just has to do with the servers, right? How much the servers can handle, because they have like what, 16, you know, creator made levels out and the show selector all at once right now. Wait, 16. Oh my God.
It's only 8 right now. Okay.
Bro, I gotta go back to school. Yeah. Okay. So there's 4. For some reason, I thought there was 4. Anyways, I don't need. Whatever. Yeah, so there's 8 creator made rounds out right now. So I think it's probably about how much the servers can handle. Maybe they need to make up for all those creator made levels with like rarely releasing LTMs. But I do agree. I think there shouldn't just be one LTM out at once. There should be like maybe 3 or 4 and then just like consistently cycle them out. I actually think that they shouldn't all reset at the same time either. Think about this.
That's true.
Imagine if you had Survival of the Fittest and then Hexagon Trials and then, Pixel Palooza or something like you said. So there's 3 different LTMs out at once. One of them is going to end in 3 days. One of them is going to end in a week. And then one of them is going to end in 2 weeks or something. Something like that. Then you got a bunch of different or a bunch of different LTMs cycling out at different times. So it feels like there's always new shows to play, even though it's kind of already set. I don't know if that makes sense, but that could be an easy way of going about it.
Yeah, I get it. I don't think it needs to be a crazy amount of shows. Honestly, I think they would be fine with just having 2 side shows instead of 1. Just if they rotated more often, maybe just for consistency, maybe they could last 6 days instead of 7, so they'll change on different days of the week, and then they can have 2, and then they each reset 3 days apart, so you'll have a new show every 3 days. But then if one of the shows you particularly like, and then you don't like the other one, then you've got that one for 6 whole days, and then you don't have to play the other one, but you've always got one new one every 3 days. I think that'd be way better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the thing with the creator-made rounds, though, is it kind of fell off a little bit, because in the beginning of the season, when they had the creator-made rounds that you would earn 1 crown for, there was at one point you would just play a round, or I think that was because of Crown Shard Scramble, but there was this 1 to 2 week period, I don't remember when, sometime around season 4, where there were these creator-made rounds where you just had to get first place and then you would get a crown for that. Yeah, that was so much better. I remember so many people were way more interested in creator-made rounds when that was happening. And then when they decided to change it to the co-op rounds, or the rounds that just reward 20 shards, it's just way less interesting, at least from what I've seen to people. People are way more interested when they can earn a full crown.
The thing is, I really I like the co-op ones. I like having the ones where you've really got to sweat and then speedrun and get a full crown for it. I like the ones where it's just have fun, check out this round. It's not co-op, it's not anything special, but you'll get a few shots for playing it. I like all of those, but there's enough show slots that we can have all 3 types of those. Right now there's 8 co-op rounds. We don't need
That's a good point.
8 co-op rounds. It can be 4 co-op rounds, 2 that are single winner, 2 that are multi-winner, and then there's 8 rounds still, and then there's more variety. No matter what playstyle you have, you can enjoy it.
Yeah. And I also just think, as we said earlier, they should just cycle out more often. Because what I've noticed is when season 4 released, for a long time, the first month or 2 months, we got new creator-made rounds every week. Every week, consistently, every week we would get new creator-made rounds. And then suddenly they just stopped. And then there was this 2 or 3 week period. I think it's 21 days or something.
It was 4 weeks.
It was 4 weeks. Oh, I don't even remember. Yeah, so it was 4 weeks of no creator-made rounds, and we had to wait for new ones. I think that was when they released the co-op rounds, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't there was none, but it was just the co-op rounds lasted 4 weeks for no reason.
Yeah, that's an issue. So it seems like they were doing great for the first month or first 2 months of season 4, where they were, weekly we would get new levels, but then they just started to release levels slower and slower. I really think this is a common theme that Fall Guys has had with almost every season, where the beginning of a season has a bunch of content, but then over time it just slows down more and more and more and more. That's just a terrible system, you know what I mean? Because then naturally every time you're going to lose players towards the end of a season. It's inevitable at that point. You got to just consistently keep pumping out the same content that you're pumping out in the first month, and then that'll be so much better for the game.
Yeah, and I really felt this with I'm sure you'll remember when I say it, the creator round playlists. What happened to the creator round playlists?
They just kind of completely, I don't know if that's because they were trying to focus more on the Discover tab or something.
I think so, but
the thing is,
it's not a replacement, right? Because the Discover is so like unintuitive. I know in the roadmap they said they're like working on a better version, and that's fine and all, but it's so unintuitive to like have to go into customs and then like you pick like a 1 round show. It's so much better if it's just like all in a playlist. I would 100% be down for a playlist that has like every Discover level, like literally every single one. I think there's like 100 or whatever. Like I'd be down for a playlist that just picks like the 4 or 5 random ones for like a full show. I think that'd be really cool and it'd be super replayable. They could have like a show like that for like an entire month and I don't think it'd be boring.
I agree, actually. Yeah, so that's the one thing that Fall Guys needs to remember. Okay, so the new, casual players that are just gonna play for like a couple days and then leave, they might not care. They'll just they'll check out all the new stuff. So they'll go to the Discover tab and play levels with their friends. That they're fine. But the dedicated players, the players that play consistently, they play for rewards. A lot of people are extremely invested in the crown ranks and they want to hit Golden Knight or Marvelous, and they want crowns. Like, that's the main thing on their mind. They just want crowns. I mean, I know that was me at one point. Obviously, I finished the crown ranks now. But, when there's no reward, people don't really care. So the problem with the Discover tab is you could play those levels, but it's solely just for fun. There's no reward that you get out of it. And it's literally like one of the most important things about video games that make them interesting. You need something to grind for. I mean, they tried to do something like that with the challenges. Like there's like daily challenges where you play custom shows, but I mean, come on, this is like literally 2 shards per challenge. Like play custom shows and you get 2 shards. That's not really, you know what I mean? That doesn't really affect anything.
Yeah, I want to quickly mention that about the Discovery tab. So like, yeah, the rewards for playing them really aren't that great because you've got those challenges, so it's 2 shards each. So if you play 10 creative levels in a day, then you'll get 6 shards, right? So across 10 days, if you play 100 levels, you get 1 crown.
Yeah, that's just not enough,
like,
man.
It's supposed to be fame, obviously. Like you've completed the pass, and I recently completed it, so that's why it's shards. But the fame is also terrible. It's literally less than a full level, and you can also complete your daily challenges in there and your weeklies now, which is good. But like, I think it's a real problem that like people have been using the discovery rounds to farm their dailies because they don't want to play the normal game because it's faster. Like that shows there's a problem with like the variety recently.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we said, the Discover tab is not really a replacement for the creator round playlists. Because in the creator round playlists, you would get a crown for winning, whereas in the Discover tab, it's just, play at your own will and there's like no reward for it. So I think I just having a reward for the things that, Fall Guys is putting out and they want you to play, having a reward for that stuff is super important. Like super, super important.
Yeah, and also 2 more things I want to say, like, related to the Discovery. So, the first thing is that I guarantee most players don't know the Discovery exists. like it's just hidden away in customs. I guarantee most players just don't know. There was never an in-game newsfeed announcing it getting added. It was just like a blog post and a tweet. That's all it was. Like, I guarantee most people don't know. And then the other thing is, about the rewards. Like, they're really unbalanced now. Like, if we forget Discovery for a moment, if we just look at, like, the show select, you get 1 crown for playing solos, you get 2 crowns for survival of the fittest, that's usual, you like 20 shards for squads. But then, right, you get 20 shards for squads, but then you also get 20 shards for all the co-op levels. Like, if you care about rewards, you're, like, disincentivized from, like, just playing the normal shows, which I think is really a problem. Like, obviously, like, you can still play for fun, you don't have to care about rewards, like, I don't really, but it's really bad that, like, the best way to get crowns is just, like, playing the same co-op rounds over and over. Like, you get the same amount of shards from just 1 co-op win versus, like, maybe, like, a 7-round squad show, which sometimes happens.
Yeah. I will say one positive thing that I'll say about the game, because obviously, we have been ranting about a lot of the problems.
Yeah.
I do, if Mediatonic, I mean, we've said positives too, but if Mediatonic or someone at Mediatonic by chance is watching, one positive thing I do want to bring up is the communication.
Oh, yeah.
Recently on Twitter, like within the past like month or so, on the Fall Guys Owl Twitter account, they've really been communicating with us now, which is great. I'm like really happy to see that, because for a while they weren't using it as much. Whereas now, like within the past couple weeks, especially, upon this new update, they've been like consistently updating us about like every single change they do. Like if they're deciding to like mess around with the levels that are in solo show, like unvault or vault levels, or just switch things up, they're constantly updating us on the Owl account.
Yeah, that's 100% been like really good. I think it has only been like this past week they've just suddenly like really kept up the communication. Like the Owl account is good. So for those who don't know, that's like an account just to keep up with like the state of the game and like server issues and like bugs and like bug fixes and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like a good example of this would be like on August 17th, they said we are removing a selection of UGC rounds in solos and adding in some favorites from the Rainbow Rally event. Dude, normally when they would do something like that, like change around solos and like replace rounds or add new levels, they would never like update that officially. Like they would never actually tell us. It would just kind of happen like under the rug or whatever. Whereas now they're updating us about all that stuff, which is really, really good to see. I hope that continues. That would be really good.
Yeah, and also in the official Discord server, I've seen like one of the community managers has sort of been a bit more active there, especially like around the new update, sort of like figuring out the issues and like just talking to people, like figuring them out. Like the community managers, right? They've been like gone for like ages, but suddenly like reappearing. And then also like the roadmap, like this blog post in general, like particularly the roadmap, because we literally haven't gotten a roadmap right since the start of Legacy Season 1. This is the first roadmap that we've gotten.
I think Mediatonic is definitely starting to recognize that communication is one of the biggest problems that the game is facing right now, and they're definitely trying to work on that, which is really good to see. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, no, the only thing with this, right, is sometimes when we think like Mediatonic's going in a good direction, like they release a super good update or like they say they're gonna do something, like in the SS4 announcement, right, that them talking about like there won't be long droughts of content because they're preparing for longer seasons, and like all that kind of thing. Like the communication has been like we can't rely on it, but I feel like it's really been consistent with this update. But the only problem is that sometimes like they communicate for like a week or two or maybe like a couple months and then they just like disappear again. The only problem is we do have to wait and see like if they'll keep communicating or if it is just like for this new update.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the most important thing is consistency. Like they can do some really good stuff, but that needs to continue like on a day-to-day basis. And I've said this before, if updating the game consistently and communicating with the community consistently and doing all that stuff consistently is an issue, they should definitely hire more people, which it looks like they have done.
Yeah.
If like on the startup screen where you see like, all those companies, which it looks like they have done. So yeah, that's all they need to do. I mean, that's probably easier said than done. I mean, I'm not really like, I don't hire people often, so I don't really know like all the stuff that goes into that. It might be more complicated. It probably is. But, at the end of the day, that's the solution. If they need more, because Fortnite's team, like the developers of Fortnite have like probably so many people working for them.
Yeah,
because the amount of
things in the thousands, I would have to assume.
Yeah. Because the amount of updates they have, there's got to be tons of people working on. So if Fall Guys has a big enough team, they'll be able to go like, just daily, like consistently, doing all the good stuff that we like communicating and adding new updates. They'd be able to do that consistently without issue if they just, hire more people to the team, which it looks like they have done, which is good.
Yeah, I think a real big thing with the communication, right, is that, like, if there's, like, a drought in content, if there's, like, maybe, like, with these monthly updates, maybe they'll, like, miss a month, or maybe one of the updates will be, like, small, it's not really a big deal if they just keep up the communication. Like, they can do a small update, but then be like, oh, this stuff's on the roadmap for the rest of the year, so, like, the other updates will be bigger, the other updates will have more content, or maybe, like, oh, the current content drought is because they're working on something big. It's a lot better to know that, because like the recent content droughts with like SS3 and SS4 and I guess like even Lexi Season 6, like that was really a content drought because they're working on free-for-all. Like the communication is really important, because like if they just tell us what they're working on, if they like show some teasers for it, and even if they're like, oh, we don't know when this will release, or oh, it might take a while, like it's still really good for them to just like keep us updated on that. Like I feel like it's a lot better if we just know what's coming, and they don't have to tell us everything. Like we don't need every detail of every update, but just sort of be reassured that we're actually like working on stuff. It's really big.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, what one last quick thing I did like briefly say, and there isn't much to say about this, but also like with the sideshow variety, like the events have also been terrible. I hope that is just because they've been like focused on this transition and like all the content throughout this season. I really hope that is just because they've been like working on sort of like this like next like era of Fall Guys basically. I hope that's the only reason, and I hope we'll start to get back to like just more consistent updates and shows and like events, because the events this season, it's literally just being the same one over and over again, just with this stupid render of this stupid green bean. I just keep seeing that green bean everywhere in every event now. It's so dumb. So I understand if they can't like immediately with like the next fame pass suddenly like turn everything around. Hopefully like within the coming months and stuff, hopefully we will get back to like sort of more consistent content and sort of like see what they're doing with the future, because like obviously we got the roadmap, we sort of know what to expect, but we do have to sort of wait for the next few updates over the next few months to really like figure out what's happening. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how that goes. We've really got to wait and see.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, as far as events go, I think one of the things that they should do is just bring back old events. Like,
Honestly, yeah.
if there's no new, that's something that they could easily be releasing. Like, there should always be an event going on, in my opinion. I think like recently there hasn't been, we've been like long periods of time without any events going on. They could easily do like weekly events if they just bring back old ones. There's tons of events that happened back in Legacy Fall Guys that a bunch of free-for-all players know nothing about. Like, for example, the Jungle Book King Louie event, the Ratchet and Clank event, the Golden Hot Dog event. I don't think the Golden Hot Dog event, I just realized this. I don't think the Golden Hot Dog event has ever released in free-for-all. I think that's exclusively a Legacy thing, and that was huge.
I'm pretty sure, like, the golden costume events from Legacy Fall Guys, I don't think any of them are releasing, because they're all legendary rarity, which means, like, they can't be in the shop or anything, but they would be event rarity if they were going to be in a free-for-all event. So I'm pretty sure that means they're never going to re-release, which I think is fine when it's just, like, costume alts, but I feel like the events themselves, like, it'd be nice for free-for-all players to sort of experience the more unique ones. There was a lot, and also, like, even if there is an event that, like, it was only after free-for-all, I think it's fine to just, like, rerun and reskin events, because some of these were really good, like, hold on, what is there?
They should also re-release the Yeetus Clan Trials.
Oh my god, yes.
That one literally only released, like, twice in SS1, I think. Maybe at SS2 it released. But, like, that was one of the most fun events we've had. Like, that wasn't even about, like, skins or anything like that. That was just, like, a fun gameplay event. I think that should return for sure.
Yeah, we've had like some really fun events, both like recently and in Legacy 4 that like completely changed the game. So I think some I can think of is like the wormhole event from SS2. That was amazing.
Or like remember the Alloy events where like you had the mechanical rhinos and then you had to collect all that stuff.
Yeah, just forget about the 2000 blaze canisters. People, free for all players will not understand the pain.
I have pretty much every skin in the entire game, but one of the main things that I'm missing that I'm really regretting that I didn't finish is the Alloy faceplate. It's like back in the Alloy event, you needed to finish the 2000 canisters to get that like glowing blue eyes faceplate, the white and blue faceplate. I never got that. That's like that's like the only faceplate in the entire game that I don't have.
Yeah, I got it, and I'm really glad I did. For those who don't know, that was, so you know, like those collectible events. Well, we had those. That was the first one actually, and we had to collect 2,000 of them, and it was like unique variations. It was really fun, but like collecting 2,000 of them was like, I'm pretty sure it was like 10 or 12 hours of gameplay, something stupid like that, in like a 5-day event. But I really enjoyed it, and they could always bring back the event like without the Aloy like skinning of the rhinos and birds. Obviously they can just like make them a normal rhino and normal bird if they don't have the rights to use the Aloy or whatever, and they don't need the, I mean, they can have the collectibles, just like it doesn't have to be 2,000 of them. And there's,
I think in that Alloy event they really went all out. Like I think the biggest examples of Fall Guys putting in like the most effort into events is the Yeetus Clan Trials and the Alloy event, because that was when they actually altered levels exclusively for an event. That's so rare that they do that. But like in the Alloy event, they did like the mechanical rhinos and placed them around the levels. In the Yeetus Clan Trials, like they put just tons of Yeetuses all around the normal maps. Stuff like that is really cool to see. I just wish we could get that on a more consistent basis where they're really like altering the game for just like a, an exclusive event.
Yeah.
Or bro, you know what's an even bigger example of this? I
What?
just remembered this. The Invisibeans Halloween version.
Oh, Treat
Like,
Thieves, yeah.
yeah, treat thieves. That I think that's the only time Fall Guys has ever made like a Unity level that's like exclusive. Like that was a
Yeah.
level that was literally out for like maybe a week, maybe less,
Literally
and it was
5
gone.
days, and then it's
Yeah,
never come back.
5 days and it was gone. That's crazy because think about how much effort was probably put into that level. I mean, I know it's a
Yeah.
reskin, but like it's entirely different looking
Yeah,
from
I hate
Sweet
people
Thieves.
saying it's a variation of Sweet Thieves. Like, I know it's based on the same map, but it, like, plays totally differently. There's so many, like, new things. There's, like, the
Yeah.
wormholes in it. There's, like, the buttons to, like, place
And
gates and stuff.
they really completely changed the design of it. Like it's
Yeah.
not even just the color reskin, like they really added like different stuff to it. So I would love to see more things like that where they really like go all out and like alter an existing Unity level. Like they could probably do something similar, with creative mode. With creative mode they can create anything. But I
Yeah.
think it's really cool to see like the original Unity levels altered for like exclusive events and exclusive things. That's just really cool to see. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, it's just a shame we went from, like, having those events to... I think it's undeniable this season has had the worst events, because it's literally just the Digi-Trials over and over again. It's just, like, a different show. It's actually so dumb. Like, the first one's Hexathon, then it was Extreme, which was actually kind of cool, but, like, it's the same event still. And then the last one was just Finals Marathon, which, like, we had before at the start of SS3.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Fall Guys might not be like super popular right now, but Fall Guys, as a name, almost everyone knows Fall Guys exists.
Yeah.
Because there have been numerous times where it's been like super popular. So I think maybe Epic Games is scared to hire a bunch of people to work on Fall Guys because they're worried it might not be like worth their money because like they'd be spending like a ton of money on new employees and developers. And they're worried they might not make that back because, Fall Guys is declining.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Fall Guys as a game is extremely popular. Almost everyone knows it. So I definitely think, I mean, I doubt anyone from Epic is watching, but just in case, I definitely think hiring a bunch of people, like a bunch more people to work on Fall Guys for it to run more smoothly and consistently would be worth the while because, consistency in Fall Guys will make the game popular. The game is already super popular. The only reason why it's not popular right now is because there's not enough stuff being added. That's literally it.
Yeah, and also, like, if the core of the game doesn't succeed, right, if Epic ends up losing money on that, there's, like, so many places this game can go. Like, there's, like, the normal, like, format of, like, solo show endures and stuff, but then there's also, like, the single round shows, there's, like, some really unique modes, and then you've got the co-op stuff that they've been working on recently. Like, that's huge. That's, like, completely different to anything we've ever seen. Like, if that becomes, like, a full-fledged, like, side mode, that's, like, a completely different thing. So, like, even if Fall Guys somehow failed, that could still succeed.
Yeah. I just think they need to hire more people to work on the game so we don't have to have these content droughts or just have, like, the problems with the events, for example, where it's just Digi-Trials over and over again. Like, if there were just a bunch of people working on the game like Fortnite has, then I think there would be, the game would be doing a lot better.
Yeah, like, the game is in, like, such a, like, good position in that, like, I genuinely believe this game could end up being, like, one of the biggest games again, like it was in, like, SS1 and Legacy Season 1. I really think, like, if they just, like, do it right and, like, they really sort of, like, take their time making the right decisions and, like, doing big updates and that kind of thing, and, like, really focusing on, like, the stability and really the consistency of the updates, as we've talked about before. Like, there's always, like, at the start of a season, like, there's loads of content, and then it really just, like, disappears within a month or two, and then the rest of the season isn't, like, anything happening. I really hope, like, that's hopefully done with now that seasons are done. Hopefully that, like, sort of forces them to do stuff more consistently, because I really believe for the most part they have been, like, having enough content. It's just they really aren't spreading it out enough. Like, if they just spread out, like, the same amount of content over, like, monthly updates and stuff, I really think, like, that might be enough to keep the game interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to describe it is Fall Guys is an extremely popular mainstream game with an indie developer team, if that makes sense. Like the game is extremely popular, but they're developing it like it's a not like it's not popular. Does that make sense? Like if you look at a smaller game, like an indie game that like, you know, doesn't have that much recognition, think about like how they update the game. That feels like how Fall Guys is being managed. Where I don't think it should be like that. I think they should hire a much larger team and manage it like Fortnite gets managed, where there's just,
like,
you know,
when the game was smaller, right, like at the start of the legacy seasons, that was like really like a big appeal, and like I didn't mind so much that there was less content. 'Cause, like, it was understandable. Like when the game launched, they had like 10 people working on it, something really small like that. So like I understand why that happened, and like why the game initially fell off, because like it was literally impossible for them to hire people fast enough and like push updates as fast as people were expecting. But now they have like Epic's budget, and I'm not saying like they can obviously like take over like however much money they've made from Fortnite and stuff. Like obviously they can't take like the entire budget, but like they have like that money to dig into, and I'm sure Fall Guys itself has also made Epic like tons of money already. Like there's so much appeal to the cosmetics, because just like cute little beings, I don't know. there's like such an appeal there. I guarantee the game's making like a fair amount of money. Like they can definitely afford to like really treat it like a big game and really do the more consistent updates that it needs to succeed. Because like obviously we want to see it succeed. We've said that a bunch of times, but we really want to see it.
Speaking of the skins, this is like one of the last things I wanted to say. I think this new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem collab is a really, really good sign for the future of Fall Guys. Because unlike other collabs we've had, this is the first collaboration we've had that is marketing a brand new movie. Think about it. Like Futurama just returned, like they're bringing back the show. And then right after they announced that, they're doing a Futurama collab in Fortnite. That's the type of stuff that they've always done. When there's like a new Marvel collab, they'll release it in Fortnite. Now it seems like Fall Guys is taking that direction where it's a mutual collaboration. It's not just a random, like they're just doing like a Sonic collab out of nowhere or like a Spongebob collab out of nowhere. No, this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab is literally marketing a new movie, which is huge for the game. Fall Guys has never done that before, so that's been good to see.
I think the Final Fantasy collab in the next pass, I think that's also something similar with like the cross promotion, because I don't know too much about it, because like I don't know much about the games, but like their live service game, it's like an MMO. I don't really know what it is, but they're like adding like Fall Guys levels to it. Like they're doing like a Fall Guys update in that game to sort of like cross promote with Fall Guys at roughly the same time. And I think they're also releasing a new game in the Final Fantasy series around the same time. So that's like really huge that they're starting to do that.
Yeah, like so that in that situation, it's not just like random collabs. They're actually capitalizing on like the popularity of a new thing. Like imagine like a new Spider-Man movie came out and then we got Spider-Man skins in Fall Guys. Like how cool would that be?
Yeah, and it's also a good sign just like that they're getting these big collabs and that companies are sort of like trusting Mediatonic and Epic to like help market their games and stuff, because that's really a good sign that like these really big IPs, like they won't just like give it to anyone. Well, some of them will, but like a lot of them really like won't. They'll be like really picky about like which games can promote them and like which will look best for them, because like it looks bad on a company, right, if they have like a Fall Guys collab and then Fall Guys is doing like terribly and like the game breaks and stuff. So in a way it does sort of like force them to just be more competent, I guess, and like do better updates and fix the game and stuff like that. I really hope. I really think that's part of it, but like that isn't a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is very cool to see Nickelodeon collaborating with Fall, because I maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Nickelodeon has collaborated with Fortnite. And I think the reason why, or at least most of their shows, like there hasn't been a SpongeBob. I mean, Fortnite has done so many collabs, but the one thing they've never done is they've never done a SpongeBob collab, which is like really big. They've never done like any of these Nickelodeon collabs. So I think that's a good sign for Fall Guys. Some kind of like exclusive thing that they have going for it is Nickelodeon is probably interested in collaborating with Fall Guys because, you know, it's like a fun, colorful game. It's family friendly.
Yeah, I think that is Fortnite, really like a big advantage Fall Guys has, is like it literally appeals to like any IP holder, any advertiser, any big game, movie, show, whatever. Whereas Fortnite, like, it is quite a violent game. Obviously, it's like there are like a lot of people like of all ages that play it, and it's not it's not like violent as in like there's loads of blood and stuff, but it's still
just
like
guns.
Characters holding guns, and also they have to be like human characters, whereas for Fall Guys it's just like a being wearing a costume.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like Nickelodeon wouldn't be so fond of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles carrying around guns, or like SpongeBob and Patrick carrying guns. I feel like that's just doesn't really fit the image. So I think that's cool for Fall Guys, because Fall Guys is in a spot where they'll be able to have these like more family friendly types of collabs. Like when something that's a little bit more kid friendly comes out, they'll collab with Fall Guys. And then, if it's like maybe a more mature type thing, they can collab with Fortnite, which is, it definitely gets some differences between the two games, which is good. Anyway, yeah, I mean, wow, we've been talking for like almost 2 hours. That's insane. I didn't even realize how much time has gone by.
Yeah, it's been a while, so if anyone watched to the end, do you really have nothing better to do? But yeah, thank you for like suggesting to do this together, because I think this was really fun, and I think we both came up with some like really good ideas of like the future of Fall Guys and like the potential of like a Spongebob date and that kind of thing. And I hope viewers have got something out of this too, because this was like a really good discussion, and also I just had fun.
Yeah, I mean, I also do hope that like I do hope that like someone from Mediatonic or Epic Games watched this, or at least like watched part of this, because I feel like we did bring up some like pretty good points that they could use to like think about what to do for the future of the game.
Yeah, I mean, even if like Mediatonic and Epic don't see this, I can say like anyone who watched till the end, like feel free, like if you heard any interesting ideas here, you can try and spread them around, because like it feels like Mediatonic is paying a lot more attention to the community recently. So like if the community is asking for something, we might be more likely to get it. Well, that properly concludes our discussion. Huge shout out to Stentric for asking me to do this with him. I really enjoyed it, and it felt like we both learned a lot about Fall Guys here. And huge shout out to you for watching this. Hope you got something from it too. As I said in the intro, any feedback in the comments or with likes and subscriptions and whatever is really helpful. But even if you don't, you've already helped a ton by listening to this entire thing. Now, if you want a break from my voice, that's fine. But if not, check out this video on the left of the initial Summer Breeze announcement, or on the right to learn about the new situation with Fall Guys vaulted maps.